right, next this morning, it was a moment straight out of Final Destination, and one lucky driver, yes, will live to tell the tale.
Can I tell you something? This is like my nightmare. Look at this. Tustin police posted these pictures on Facebook. You can see a metal rod went right through the windshield on the driver's side.
Take a look at this. He was driving in Sydney when the rod came right through the car and only hit him in the chest. Luckily, he managed to walk away with just some glass in his eye.
A large boulder, piece of rock, comes out of the back of the semi. A fairly large rock, like probably somewhere around 40, 50 pounds. What we believe so far bounces off the road and into the passenger car. The two deceased were 83 and 89.
Police say a piece of wood flew off the trailer, piercing the woman's windshield, trapping her. Firefighters had to cut off the roof to rescue her.
A 44,000-pound coil of steel is being blamed for 3 deaths in Orleans, Indiana.
This is incredible. A typical drive to work almost turned deadly for one Utah woman today. A big piece of metal flew off another vehicle and right into her windshield, Brian.
The 22-ton coil of steel broke off the bed of the tractor trailer and slammed into 2 oncoming vehicles. 3 people were pronounced dead on the scene, and an 11-year-old girl was airlifted to Kosser Children's Hospital with serious injuries. People in the small town of Orleans are struggling to cope with the shock and sadness.
A woman is recovering in the hospital after what officials describe as a metal stake flew through her windshield while she was driving.
Mangled steel is all that is left of the Chevy S10 pickup and Chevy Aveo. Both vehicles were traveling northbound on State Road 37 when a tractor trailer coming southbound lost its load.
We've got a tragic update right now on a freak accident on the Howard Franklin Bridge. That woman hit by flying debris has died.
It was probably the most horrific accident scene I've ever worked. There was a debris field that was over 500 feet long. The vehicles were just destroyed.
It happened around 6:20 this morning on US 20 in Angola. Police say the driver, 44-year-old Sean Spencer, slammed on his brakes for some reason. That's when the steel beams on the trailer came loose. Several of those beams went all the way through the cab. Spencer died at the scene.
Police say the truck driver, 33-year-old Israel Rankin of Paoli, said he was forced to slam on his brakes a few minutes before the crash, and after that, his load didn't feel right. A few miles down at the Orange-Lawrence County line, the chains broke off and the roll of steel bounced off his truck, first striking the pickup. The driver of the pickup, 22-year-old Zachary Skaggs, and his girlfriend, 21-year-old Shannon Steele, were instantly killed. The other passenger in the pickup, 11-year-old Mackenzie Taylor, was airlifted to Kosser Children's Hospital with multiple injuries. After striking the pickup, the steel coil hit the Chevy Aveo, killing 41-year-old Michael Daughtry. The coil
He spent his last breath making sure my mom was okay.
Amazingly, Thomas Arrington was able to safely stop the car on I-95 in Danvers after a long piece of metal pierced through the windshield.
Somehow today he suffered horrific injuries and stayed alive just long enough to get the car into a safe spot, save my mom's life.
Tonight, a St. Petersburg woman is in serious condition after a metal pipe crashed through her windshield.
Investigators say a 15-foot-long screed used for smoothing out fresh concrete flew off a dump truck traveling ahead of them.
Florida Highway Patrol says this piece of metal flew off of a tow truck on Tuesday and into Eduardo Medina's truck on I-95. The metal missed Eduardo by inches.
It was carrying a load of steel coil when the coil became unsecured and fell off the bed of the truck into the southbound lane. The coil hit an SUV, and the driver was pronounced dead at the scene.
We have some new body camera video that shows the moments after a large piece of wood went right through, look at this, right through the windshield of a truck.
You can just somehow remind drivers to double check their load.
The couple's daughter is hoping the tragedy can be a lesson.
I will forgive that person in time.
To spare other families the pain that has now consumed their lives.
My dad always would say to err is human. We all screw up. This one was big. This one took my hero.
A Ford Edge unrecognizable. The SUV was destroyed after being hit by steel coil along Hamilton Eaton Road. The driver was killed.
A Prince George couple and their baby daughter are lucky to have escaped unharmed after a terrifying ordeal on the road. They were driving on a northern BC highway when a large metal bolt came flying through the windshield.
As soon as that semi was like even with me, then it just went bam.
A piece of wood smashed through her windshield, missing her by inches.
I just
this came through the windshield.
Hutchinson was covered in broken glass, and as her husband started to clean up the shards,
They found the bolt beside my daughter in the back seat.
Just hours ago, we've learned that the woman who was killed while driving on I-64 back in October was hit by a mud flap. The mud flap went through Kathleen Bailey's windshield on the interstate near South Vandeventer.
Far from her head. It went right through the middle, and if you looked where the headrest is, it was sitting like here. Scary.
The image speaks for itself. A 12-foot metal pole smashing through the windshield of this SUV like a spear.
All right, a man in California lucky to be alive this morning. He had a piece of metal crash right through his windshield. And then all of a sudden, a metal ramp fell off of a truck and then went right through his car.
Freak and scary incident for a driver on the northwest side. A metal door from a passing dump truck flew into his front windshield.
I have a freak accident where a large bolt went through the windshield of a car and hit the driver inside. We've now learned that that man has died.
Police think the beam fell off a truck. The driver never realized it and just kept going.
An explosion of glass. I just can't believe that I'm alive. I would have died. I mean, it was a miracle.
the large bolt flew through their windshield just as a transport truck and empty trailer drove past in the other direction.
Inside this SUV, the male driver has been struck in the throat by a dangerous piece of road debris. An industrial-sized bolt similar to this one. Large, heavy, approximately 10 inches long, according to LaPorte police. That bolt cutting through the victim's neck, leaving him critically injured inside his SUV.
This is what her car looks like now. Nikki Sanders said she was driving in a left lane in Utah earlier this week and saw this big 5-foot beam fly toward her. She very quickly swerved to the left. The beam ended up smashing through her windshield and came just a few inches away from hitting her.
When the driver stopped short, a maneuver that cost 76-year-old William Turnage of Columbus, Georgia, his life.
For reasons unknown yet, the tractor trailer began to brake. As the driver applied the brakes, the load which he was hauling was unsecured or not secured well enough. The load broke free, and part of the load, which is very heavy beams, intruded into the cabin.
It happened on a highway in Ohio. The 6-foot unsecured piece of wood missed the driver and her passenger by just inches.
The ramp smashed her windshield, nearly hit her. She blames the CVS trucker.
This is something you definitely don't want to see on the highway. Lumber flying off a truck and heading right towards your windshield. The driver says it looked just like a scene from the horror movie franchise Final Destination.
I assume that obviously something was done incorrectly here as far as securing that load. So certainly some takeaways there as far as safety to make sure that your load can't move, can't shift. Anything can happen in traffic. You're hauling something that heavy. I mean, it's tragedy. It's very tragic.
In an email, the Ministry of Transportation and Infrastructure said cargo must be contained, immobilized, or secured so that it cannot leak, spill, blow off, fall from, fall through, or otherwise be dislodged from the vehicle.